And boom, boom, we are live. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to In Conversation, a live broadcast, Red TV. I'm Peter Clark. And hey, listen, I always come on here and I get a lot of grief from some of my friends who say, you always say you're excited. But I'm freaking excited today, super freaking excited today, because it's so difficult to get these types of people on your show. And I love meeting these people. And what I'm referring to as my guest today, I mean, literally rock star of professional sports, NHL player. I can say enough, but look at the background here. You know where he's from. You know where he's playing, all that kind of stuff. That fine, good looking. Look at that guy over there. Look at that jaw over there. I want to welcome my very special guest, Matthew Tkachuk. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. That was quite the introduction. I don't think I deserve that.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
I appreciate it.
We'll prove that as we go along. We'll prove that as we go along. All right, buddy. Listen, thank you for joining me. I know you listen, you're on the beginning of a very, very, you're at the beginning of the journey. Let's put it that way. So your time is precious. So I super appreciate that today. First question right away is, about you and your family. You okay? I mean, health-wise, you and your family, the holidays, how's that? Everything okay that way?
Yeah, everybody's doing great. I didn't actually get to spend the holidays at home in St. Louis like I normally do. But with everything going on, the weirdness of everything, like, of course, I wasn't going to be there for Christmas or for New Year. It just made sense this year. But fortunate for our family, we got to spend a lot of time together since last March, which we never will get back, and we'll never probably be able to do again because Brady's in Ottawa. Yep. I'm in Calgary. Taryn's going off to Virginia next year to play field hockey. So it's just kind of crazy how that was probably the last time we're all gonna be together. But it was super fun to be there and be around them basically 24/7. And Brady left right after Thanksgiving, which was let's say late November. So we kind of did all of our Christmas stuff in and around Thanksgiving, which was super fun. And we at least got to share with each other, open some presents, even though it was a little early. It didn't feel right, but we still made it.
Yeah, I know it's just a weird time in life in general. And I know people that obviously are on the outside of professional sports and at the level that you're at, we don't think it affects them the same way, but it does. We're all human beings. We all got families. We all want to spend times at holidays, all that stuff, and restrictions on travel and getting together and all that stuff. So
exactly. And I think it was more like routine oriented too. Like as an athlete, like your life's your routine. Like what's coming next. You know what's coming next with your schedule. What summers are off, but they're not. You're training and you're ramping it up at certain times to get ready for the season again. And kind of during this, you didn't really know when to ramp it up or when to start creating or do any of that stuff. But I don't know. There were some pros and cons to it, obviously. But definitely spending time at home with the family was right at the top of the list. And I got to be there for my birthday, which is December 11th, which I haven't.
Right. I noticed that. You know what? I was talking to you I think sometime this month, and I totally forgot it was your birthday. So happy belated birthday.
Yeah, no, thanks. But I haven't been back home for my birthday since before I moved out to Ann Arbor, Michigan when I was 15. So that was a long time not being at home, but crazy.
Yeah, you're always doing something. Let's stay on the family subject for a second, and I mean this with all due respect. I mean, everybody knows, people who follow professional sports, certainly professional hockey, and the Calgary Flames specifically know your family very, very well. So your dad and your brother. So I recommend to everybody, you can go out on the internet, you can find 1,000 cool things about them. So I think it's and I know the influence that your dad and has had on your career and these kinds of things. But what I want to ask you about really is more about your family directly, like your mom and your sister. So your mom, I think Chantal, I think she's originally from Winnipeg, and you just mentioned your sister. So I'll just jump right into that. Like your mom, we can always talk about how you might compare to your dad when you're playing hockey and all that kind of stuff. But with your mom, what kind of character traits or the things that you admire about her that you carry with you today that helps you maybe in your game or maybe just being as a human being?
Yeah, I think that she, the main thing she has expressed to my brother and I, my sister and I, is just kind of being humble and keeping your circle small in the sense where don't never forget who you are and where you've come from and everything like that. And I think that sometimes people in certain positions can get ahead of themselves or think they're somebody that they're not. But that's been probably the the thing I've kept close with me from her through all these years is who I've become throughout my life because of her, because of my dad. But just like try to be very humble, and I think my circle is super, super small, and I don't really allow too many people in it. I think that's something that she taught me too, is you know who your friends are, you know who your close family are, and I've always said, I know there's a lot of especially in the world we live in with Twitter and Instagram, people have opinions from everywhere, whether they live half a world away, but we've always just listened to our close family and close friends, because we've just kept our circle small. And I think that's something that she taught me. And she's just like, honestly, the sweetest person ever. During this whole thing, she loved having us home. She loved being able to like help take care of us. And even though I'm 23 now, my brother's 21 and Taryn's 18, like she still just loves.
Well, she's a mom.
She's a mom. She loves having us back home in St. Louis, the off season. She loves just checking in all the time. So that was great. But it's kind of funny, like everyone would assume my dad got me into hockey when I was younger, which probably did, but I'm pretty sure the first time I was on the ice was with my mom and not with my dad, because I mean, obviously when you think about it, people like athletes are on the road a lot too. So she was there 24/7. I think she brought me on the ice at a skate called Coyotes and Pups or something weird in Arizona. So yeah, she was the first person that kind of got me interested in it, I guess. And there's a great picture at our house in St. Louis of her we're playing mini hockey. And I just loved playing anything hockey. Any sport I loved. And she's in the goal holding Brady, who's a couple months old, and I'm just firing the pucks or little mini hockey balls away or whatever. So it was super, super funny, some of those pictures, but that just shows what type of person she is. She'll do anything for us still. And I love having her when she comes to visit in Calgary. It's super. She always says I play well when I'm here, so she's got to keep coming to visit.
Hey, we're as a male, we're our moms, right? We all love our moms. So
and then my sister, she's probably the biggest supporter and the person I have to thank the most, because she had to sacrifice a lot when she was younger and we were younger at home too, because she probably spent most of her life when we were in St. Louis at the rinks with us. And now it's we were starting to realize that as we're gone, and we're still talking to her all the time and stuff, but like she's got obviously her life with all her, but maybe it was a little selfish of us at the time, but so selfless of her to kind of put some of the attention towards us when we were there. And she loved going to the rinks too and that stuff, but obviously that's probably not the main thing she wanted to do. So she gave up a lot at an early age. So Brady and I try to spoil her now to try to make up for some of that stuff.
That's awesome. Well, you said something I think is super important, selfless. There's parts of the family, we always talk about the parents and so on, but the siblings, and especially in your family, because with three, I mean, there's two of you that are doing something at an extremely high level, which a lot of attention, and she maybe falls, like you said, silent sometimes. And so I'll give her a ton of credit, hat off to that, because that's a tough role to play. And
she's now, though, she's a stud field hockey player. She's going to Virginia to play field hockey, and she's better at her sport compared to her peers than me and Brady are compared to ours. So like she's a real
wow.
Yeah,
that's a testament right there.
Yeah, she's known around the St. Louis area as the best athlete in the family. So everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. That's no secret anymore.
Oh, that's great. Well, I appreciate you sharing that about your mom. And like I said, humility, man, that'll always serve you. There's something magical about being humble and kind. And, if you can keep that with you the rest of your life, if that's, again, for a parent to hear that from their child, by the way, you just made your mom's day. That's for sure. Because those are the qualities you want in your children and so on. Let's talk about leadership, because you play in a tremendous role of a leader, whether you want to or not. Sometimes I'm thinking that's part of it as well. You're an assistant right now, captain wise, and so on. But everyone has a definition of leadership, if you will. So, maybe your own personal philosophy. Maybe not even if it falls into the game of hockey, great. But your personal philosophy on leadership. How would you define that? How would you define a great leader?
I would say it's everybody. Everybody's very different when it comes to it. But I mean, you have guys that like a guy like Mark Giordano, who's obviously one of the best leaders in all all of hockey, and the way he goes about his routine and just his hard work and his just commitment. That speaks to his leadership right there. And then, you might hear of some other guys in other places that are very vocal, or whenever they see something, I'll call you out for it, but also, also prove it and practice what they're preaching, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, walk or talk. Walk or talk.
Exactly. Whereas I, at an early age too, I always just wanted to be that guy that planned things, or just wanted to do this, or be the guy who would start this, or just kind of want to be the pioneer in anything. And I think that's kind of how the way I am. I'll try to be the first in this. I'll try to be the first in this. I'll try to show by example, but also even at a young age, I'm not afraid to say anything that's on my mind, as long as I'm making sure I'm going out there and practicing what I'm preaching, like I said earlier. But it's a little bit different because I'm still young and I'm still learning kind of how to flirt with what works and what doesn't work. But I think I do it a little differently, in the sense where, even though at a young age, if I see something, I'll say it, and I'm not afraid to say anything to anybody, which maybe sometimes gets me in trouble. Sometimes
I was going to say you'll deal with the consequences, but you just kind of. So would you say that comes from? So you speak. Do you think you're still on the border of trying to figure out what's emotionally driven? So you might say things emotional and go, oh.
Yeah. I think that's probably putting it that's probably my best. I don't know, probably the best thing about me, but also maybe my biggest flaw is just how emotional I am, and how it's everything I do it with probably the most passion that I can. And that is definitely my best asset, but also my biggest flaw. So just trying to figure that out a little bit too.
That is cool. It's funny you say that. Let me throw one at you. I mean, that's Babe Ruth, right? Most home runs and most strikeouts. It's a yin yang of what your skill is. So no, you're right. I mean, and you're around leaders and so on. I know that when in interviews I've seen you speak of this many times about the advice that you've gotten from your dad. And like you said, he wouldn't tell you to skate this way or shoot this way or whatever. He'd always say basically compete and be a good teammate. Compete. So let's dig into that. Just dig into that for me a little bit. When you talk about competing, so the word of being competitive and competing, what do you think that means to you when or even how it relates to how your dad said it to you?
Well, I think to start, that's probably, I think if you'd ask most people talking about hockey, I'd say that's probably what they say my biggest asset is in the game itself, is competitiveness. And I think that's just been driven from when I was born, having a brother similar age to me. We always just want to beat and beat each other, compete against each other, all that stuff. But the way my dad kind of phrased it is, no matter if you're working out, if you're in school, or if you're in hockey or whatever you're doing, don't you want to beat the person you're doing it against? Don't you want to compete? Isn't competing against that the best part of anything, and competing and doing well? And I just remember thinking about that at an early age. I never was a guy that, I mean, even if you ask people now, I've never letting people win or really doing anything like that. I mean, there's certain cases, but you're trying to win at everything you do. And I think that started at an early age. I was on the ice a lot, but not compared to kind of most hockey players now. A thing that drives me crazy are most hockey players now at an early age, whether it's their parents or whether maybe it's them, but they just play hockey. I played everything growing up. I did everything growing up, me and my friends, and hockey was during the winter, but in the summer you weren't even looking at your skates. So whether we were playing other sports or in school or just screwing around, whatever, you just want to compete. And it was taught to me at an early age that that's the best part of any sport or anything, is competing. And then being a good teammate, it's pretty self-explanatory, but being a light guy in the room, having guys want to go through a wall for you and you doing the same thing for them. And I think that those two things have been preached to me at such an early age that when I came to Calgary as an 18-year-old, those are the only two things that I was wanting to prove right at the start of camp or in my first year. And I knew I was going to be fine. If you're a well-liked guy in the room as a young player, and if you're doing everything to be the hardest worker and competing the hardest, I'm just going to be just fine. So I think those two things, I know I'm stealing them from my dad, but for the rest of my life, that's what I'm going to be telling people. What I have advice for them, it's just compete and be a good teammate, and you're going to be fine.
Right. Wow. That's great. But it's interesting. You say, well, it speaks for itself being a good teammate. And you know what? Just so you know, it's not actually painfully obvious to some people, because some people aren't good teammates at times. I was just going to ask you. So that question about compete, do you think you can teach someone to compete, or is that internal? Do you have to build that muscle, or can you either you kind of have it or you don't? What do you think of that?
I think that a lot of people are just naturally born with it. But I think that as time goes on, you can gain that. I mean, I think that each person in their life has a few moments where, it can maybe flip a switch in their head where they're like, no, I want that. And I'm going to do anything I can to get that. And I think whether that's whatever profession you're doing, whatever job you're in, like, I feel like everybody just has that switch where maybe they don't get what they want at one point, or they don't win at everything they do, where they're like, no, I'm going to make sure I do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I think you can gain that as life goes on. But I think some people are naturally born with it as well.
Yeah. And being a teammate, you mentioned like being a good teammate. You mentioned being in the room like that, and without any secrets or anything. But what's an example of not being a good teammate? I wonder. There's nothing specific, but something like, is it when someone's sort of thinking of themselves more than the team? Is it something?
I think that's an easy one. I think just maybe being selfish is one. And also when it comes down to it, I think you have to. I mean, you're not going to be best friends with every single person, but you have to go out of your way to check in with guys, see how their families are doing, how life away from the rink is. I think that's a big thing too, is, some of the best guys that I can remember, that was one of the main things when I was a young player. I obviously had a couple of my close in age buddies that are, still very tight with when I first came in. But it's kind of nice having some of the older guys. Like I look at a guy like Matt Stajan, Troy Brouwer, some of these guys that I played, Chris Versteeg, that aren't on the team anymore, that I played with at the start, that were always checking in, making sure I'm doing all right. And that to me was probably the biggest part I was worried about coming in as an 18-year-old. It's like, there's a big age gap between, me and certain guys, and, lots of guys in between, but more of an older-ish team. I hope, they're happy to have me. I know I don't want to be stepping on anybody's toes, but I also want to do everything I can to stay. And they were great. So, I don't really know for some examples of not. I'd say just being selfish is the main one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always looked at, like, if you're being late or if you're unorganized, that to me is a big no. Just preparation. If you're not prepared, and I know people look at it as that's like a you problem, but no, because if you're not prepared, you're affecting me, you're affecting some of the other guys in a team sport. If you're playing golf or whatever, I mean, you have nobody to blame but yourself. But
Yeah, you're strong as your weakest link, right? I mean, if you're in a team, like you said, I mean, you don't want to be all those things you just said. You're not putting in the work. You're not on the game sheet. You're not figuring out what's the mission, vision, and values of where we're going, what we're doing. That's kind of selfish, and that's not being a good team player. So I understand what you mean by that. I think that's really. You mentioned about some players that talked about being good team members for you and teammates for you. And it sounds like it's almost like a mentorship kind of thinking off the ice, not just so much even on the ice and in the dressing room, because you're really focused on what you're doing. But it's all the in between. It's all the in between time of the game. So let's talk about mentorship and maybe some of the people that you've played with throughout your life. Can you list a couple characteristics and qualities of what you just spoke of that stands out for you when it comes to being a good leader or a good teammate? Maybe a characteristic or quality that says to you, wow, this is a great teammate, or this is someone who can maybe play a mentor's role with me.
I've always liked throughout these years, one of the main things, I love people that push me. I'm my biggest critic by far. If I'm not the first person that's going to be mad at me for not playing well or not preparing well or whatever, it's going to be me. Like I know other people are a lot differently where they need to be pushed. I don't necessarily need to be, but I really enjoy it when I am. And I look at a guy like Dale Hunter, who was my coach in London, and just always knew and expected a lot out of me and gave me great opportunity, but it wasn't, wasn't necessarily hard on me, but knew that I had what it took to play in the NHL the following year. So I was going to make sure that I was doing, he was, all over me in certain parts of my game, and like the kind of NHL lifestyle is a different lifestyle than junior. It's different than any youth hockey or anything. So
Sure.
He kind of turned me into an NHL player playing in junior, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, of course. Yep.
And I think, he's still, he's still the best coach I've played. He's just the best in that role, and all the things that he taught me, and just my growth that year. I can't thank him enough. And he was so awesome. And it was more of everything. Everybody talks about, playing hockey, playing professional or anything. There's a lot that goes on away from the 60 minutes that you're playing every other night. So we get back to preparation. You have to be prepared. You have to sleep well. You have to eat well. You have to do all this stuff. And that was kind of the first place where I really learned that. And then coming into the NHL, playing with a bunch of great older players. I look at a guy like Michael Backlund, who I've played with as line mates for, this is, year 5. So the past 4 years, and just all little things and on the ice. And then when we get off the ice, we're still talking about stuff that happened on the ice, and we're always checking in on what we can do to be better. And then, when we're not talking about that, we're talking about each other's families, or just checking in. And so he kind of was one of the first people that, really, really cared, I think.
They're playing roles of mentors. I mean, like you said, what's interesting about, you mentioned about older players. I mean, what's interesting in the NHL, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, 5 years in the NHL is gigantic. I mean, that's a lot of time. Most people might think that 5 years is not a lot of time, but I'm thinking back, and you could probably think about yourself. I mean, 5 years ago, the first day you came in, and now the mentality you have going into this season, for example, those got to be polar opposites. I mean,
and talking about mentorship role, I come here, I'm 18 years old, and I'm in my first camp, or I don't even think camp would have started yet. Maybe it was just starting. And like Sean Monahan comes up to me at the rink one day. He's like, "Hey, how are things going? Like, how's you're hanging in there? You're playing well, but how are things away from it? Because I know there's obviously stuff that goes on. What are you doing for food? All this stuff." And I was just like kind of talking to him, and I was obviously happy-go-lucky guy. I'm just pumped to be here, and like, this has been awesome. He's like, "Oh, that's great," and stuff. He's like, "What hotel are you staying at?" And I forget where we were staying. And he's like, "Okay, I'll pick you up at let's say 5 o'clock. You're gonna come live with me." And I was like, "Oh, like, okay, like,
wow,
sounds good." So I went and moved in with him. This was early October, and I lived with him for about a month and a half, and then got my own place at the beginning of December. But just for him to kind of take me in, and he wasn't necessarily an older player then. He was 23 at that time, and
but he had 5 years. That's the 5 years, right?
Yeah, and it was just kind of great to have him, who I looked up to and I still look up to. We were very similar paths, the way we kind of went about. He played at 18, I played 18. We both came from junior. Just kind of, we were both drafted 6th overall. It was just a lot of, basically the first person I really looked up to in this organization. And for him to take me in like that, I can't thank him enough. Even
absolutely.
So it's little stuff like that. It's taking guys in and showing them the ropes of your routine outside of the rink, and just having a guy to talk to was great. And yeah, he was a great mentor for me, and still is. He's the man.
Well, I know what's interesting is that you're going to obviously play that role soon enough, and you see young guys coming into camp, and they're going to be looking to you, 4 or 5 years later here, and you'd be thinking, and it's interesting because it's so fresh to you, but still at the same time, it seems probably a long time ago that someone was in a position to have to do that for you, or really want to do that for you. Mm-hmm. So they took you in that direction. I think that's really, really, really good. And talking about advice, so there's the example of mentors who give you advice, and maybe you should do this, and let's get you moved in with some money and all that kind of stuff. When you're a young player, you're getting a tremendous amount of advice. I can't even fathom at your level the kinds of advice, or where it's coming from. It comes from parents, it comes from coaches and teammates and family members, and in your case, the public opinion, all that kind of stuff. So with all the advice that keeps either being thrown at you as a young player. How do you distinguish between what's good advice and bad advice? How do you know the difference at a young?
To be completely honest, I always just turn to my family or the people that were closest to me. Even if people in the outside world and their advice, or I mean, even when it comes down to hockey, no matter what's asked of me or wanted of me, I always talk to my dad about it because I trust his opinion when it comes to hockey more than anybody I've talked to. And then we talk about it a little bit, and once he gives me or once we talk about it and realize that it's good info, or no, do this instead of this, and then that's how I think after that. But I think it just goes back to keeping my inner circle and the people I trust very, very small. And so I honestly think that especially when I came in, Canadian market, 18 years old, freshly drafted, rivalries everywhere, a big personality, which isn't very common in hockey. And I think people look at that as being different, and obviously a lot of people don't like that, but just kind of have, you just got to be smart in the way that you take in all the information and not let the bad stuff bother you. And that's a great thing about me. I feel like I'm pretty mentally tough, and I've learned that from being very young from my parents. And because it's not like my dad didn't go through this either. So I always had somebody to go to that's been through this. So it was nice.
I think that, and again, it keeps coming back to that small group of people. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I literally said that to him. Said, in your life in general, if you can count friends on your hand, you're really lucky. Normally you can count your best friends on your thumbs, and in some cases it's actually on your nose. Very rare to get in that really tight circle with people that can give you that kind of advice. I'm just thinking of young players, like when you were growing up in 13 and 14 and 16 and 17, how much advice you were given. You have to kind of, like I said, have that board to bounce off these ideas. Is that good advice or is that bad advice? You don't even know until you kind of go through it. So it's good that you had that.
It was nice because every step of the way, my dad was one of my coaches kind of through youth hockey when he could be there. So he was involved. Even when I went up to the U.S. team, he was visiting every now and then. So he was there. It was good to have somebody. And my brother and I are super close in age, and we're just super close in general. So we're able to bounce stuff off each other, and we still do. Honestly, when we hear stuff or talk about stuff in life, hockey, we still trust each other's opinions, which is very important.
Yeah, super important. I agree with that. Again, as a young player, it's so fantastic you have that really tight family, even if they're not from hockey. That was the other part we talked about, just even with if your sister was a part of that small group as well. Let's talk about this idea of you're in a sport or a business. It's a business. It's a sport. It's a business, and really defining success. These days is all about winning and losing. Especially in your sport. Your sport, that industry is all about wins and losses. Let's talk about that as a leader for you. How do you balance the idea of winning at all costs and what that means? And does the means justify the end? That kind of thinking. What's your personal philosophy on that idea of winning at all costs or winning and losing?
I think that I'd say my short answer right now is yes, win at all costs and do everything and anything to win. And I think that's honestly how I play too. It's not pretty. It's not, maybe not everybody loves it, whether it's the style or some of the things that happen within the game or away from the game. But I think it comes back to competitiveness too. I will do absolutely anything to win. And we have a lot of guys on our team that are like that too. So, when I was younger and stuff, I look back, and probably one of the best things that happened to me in my hockey career is, might take a little bit to explain, but when I went to the U.S. team, I was there from the under 17 team, and we had all guys that were 15 or 16 years old, and we were playing against competition that were, 19 or sometimes even 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, guys that are way older, that kind of gave us a little bit of a beating in the USHL. And then the following year we played college competition, which we were way younger than. But, it wasn't about the results at that point. It was about learning what it takes to beat and what it takes to compete against bigger, stronger, better players than you are right now, but being okay with it, not being okay with it, but wanting to win, but kind of learning what it's like to lose and what it feels like to lose and not being happy with that. Right. So whenever we would play those guys, we would go overseas. We go overseas 3 tournaments a year, and we would just completely spank the competition that was our own age, whether it was, the Russians, the Swedes, whatever teams. And we would play great, and we'd most of the time manhandle those teams. And so to answer your question, I think that's how I am, as a win at all cost guy. And I think that stems from, there's nothing I hate more in life than losing. And if you ask anybody that knows me, that's a main thing that they would say.
Wow. It's funny because I actually, when I was thinking about when I was chatting with you, or going to chat with you, but you can talk about it in business, you can talk about it in sports, you can talk about it in all kinds of different verticals of life. This idea of what winning teaches you. So when you talked about the idea that you would go out and play against these teams that you knew they were going to beat you. I mean, it would be another miracle on ice if you were going to beat them, but you were getting beaten all just so that you could learn. So what do you learn from that? What did you learn specifically from knowing that you're going to lose, but you know what, I'm going to go out and compete? Is it that you're sharpening the axe of competition? Is that what you're doing?
Well, luckily our team was pretty good at that age where we didn't lose all the time. We lost the majority of those games, but I think it just sits poorly in you. It motivates you. It motivates you to really come to the rink the next day and know you're not playing for another 6 days, but work out as hard as you can for the next however many days, and make sure that you're more prepared next week than you were this week. It's kind of like a picture, like an NFL season. You lose week 1, you're going to do basically everything you can in the week 2 lead up to make sure that you're more prepared and that you have a better result in week 2. So it's kind of like a similar, we play on weekends. We were still in school. We just had a lot of we were all moved to a different city. So there's just a lot going on. And with us all doing that, we're all in the same boat. And I think it taught us to be closer as a team and just all the team building stuff. And that was just a great experience. But I think losing teaches you that you don't like it, and that you're going to do everything you can to not let that happen.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And you realize that, you're obviously not going to win at everything you do in your life, but knowing what it takes to also win and preparing in that sense each time you do something, whatever it is. And then you can live with the outcome if you're as prepared as you are. It's not all about winning in that sense, but if you don't win and you're not prepared, I couldn't live with myself if that's what it takes. If you're prepared and you're doing absolutely everything you can, the result's not there. I mean, it is what it is, but you're not happy about it. That's for sure.
You're not happy about it. No, it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, like you said, it's just, you don't know what the feeling of winning really is until you kind of lose. It's almost when those teams go to they go to the final, they lose the cup, they come back and do that kind of stuff. You hear that as a common theme where they said, "Man, I couldn't get that out of my mouth. The taste of losing just really just." Like you said, motivated and propelled me. This has been a really crazy year. I don't need to tell you that, nor does anyone would debate us on that. It's just absolutely insane, especially in your business. And of course, it was they put you into the bubble. You finished off the season, all that kind of stuff, and that's at the professional level. So I was thinking, you're a young player. So if only 6 or 7 years ago, you would have been in, that age where you're 16, 17, 18, 19, these kinds of things, really, really important years in players' development and so on. And of course, hockey is so important to us in Canada, specifically in Canada. I mean, it's our national identity. I mean, it's so important to communities. It's so important to families and that kind of stuff. So there's been a lot of families sitting home, not being able to follow that dream, where they feel that their dreams and their aspirations are gone. What would you kind of advice might you be saying to if there's like an 18-year-old kid right now listening to you, or a 17-year-old? They're in these development years where the draft and all these kinds of things, and maybe a year went by where it's not working out. What kinds of things would you say to those players right now to keep them motivated and focused, knowing that they can still keep their eye on the prize? What would you say to them?
I mean, I would say stick with it and just make sure that whatever you want out of hockey, whether you want to, there's so many great things that have come from the game for me personally. And it was different for me. If I could do it, everybody could do it. I grew up in St. Louis. I was born in Arizona, not the traditional hockey markets, but I was a huge believer in not putting all my attention into hockey until I absolutely had to. When I played for the U.S. team, I played all these other sports. I was hanging out with my friends. I wasn't being an idiot or anything like that, but I wasn't letting hockey take up everything up here. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the common thing I tell people is, if you're getting stressed or if you're not happy with the way things are going in hockey, just, work harder and prepare better, but also don't let it consume up all your day. Do something else. Make sure you're happy going to the rink every day and doing it. Make sure you're enjoying it, because once you lose the enjoyment, you're screwed and it's over. So I've always found ways to and I've loved hockey ever since I started playing it, but you still find new ways each day or each year or each practice where you regain or learn something new that you just love about it. And so right now in these tough times, it's hard because there's very limited options, but I mean, you can watch hockey, you can go outside. I know it's Canada, we're in the winter, so there's a lot of people on outdoor rinks. Just do whatever you can, but don't let it consume up your whole day. And I know it's tough times and unprecedented times, but if you love hockey like I do, you'll find a way to make it work and to make it where you want to go. And it's not necessarily make it to the NHL. It's building relationships with teammates or coaches, and that's the biggest thing that I've taken from hockey that I think is just the relationships and the friends I've met and the families I've met through it, and just so many great people.
Yeah, and again, that's just the point of even having that question from your perspective, that there's young kids out there that are young men and women that are playing the game, and they're used to having tournaments over Christmas, and they're used to going on road trips, and they're learning, and they're at the level where one extra year is either meaning you're going towards the dream of playing professional, or maybe the dream is playing NCAA, maybe it's going to college, whatever it is. There's these development years right now are being affected. So I again, like you said, you got to love the game, and like you said, find other things to fill your time. That makes a lot of sense to me. That makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you, we're going to philosophy now, a little philosophy for you. What, with that being said, we got the backdrop of 2020 behind us. And even in going into the new season this year, everything's going to be much, much different than you're used to. There's no doubt about that. Even just the way you communicate with people, whether you're doing interviews, how you guys travel, all that kind of stuff. So what keeps you optimistic these days? What are you hopeful about? What keeps you hopeful? What keeps you positive and optimistic?
Well, I mean, if you really think about it too, there's a lot of things in life right now that shouldn't keep us, there's just a lot of events that are, even for myself right now, like, my family's not going to be allowed to come visit me this year. Nothing's really open around here. Just everything's crazy. So, but I'm also, it's not hard to keep in touch with everybody and to check in with you. I think this is a perfect time to check in with people, whether it's your family or friends, or even people that you don't normally check in with, and see how they're doing. And there's so many great parts of life that allow you to do that. And I'm taking full advantage of that right now. So I think what keeps me optimistic is the fact that I know this is very screwed up and not normal, but it's almost made me appreciate what it was and what it'll eventually get to. And I think during this whole pandemic, we were talking about it when I was back in St. Louis, but because I was able to be there a lot longer in person than normal, you're able to really interact and hang out with the people that you really care about. And now, even though I'm not there, you're still talking every day like you were there, and just bringing you, not rekindling relationships or stuff like that, but you're able to spend so much time with people that like they become family, even if they're not family. So I think that's been very great during this whole thing is the people that I've been able to see, the people I was able to hang out with, that including obviously family, and even the people that I haven't been able to see in person or won't see in person right now. talking way more than it would be in a normal year. You know what I mean? Like if I'm talking to my family basically every day. Whereas, most years when I know they're coming to visit, or if I know, you can go a couple days or a week without talking, but it's not the case. Not the case. So I think that's what keeps me optimistic. Was when we get back to it, I'll have I've had the strongest relationship with my family and close friends throughout my life. But I just think this has just made it that much better, being able to spend time with them, and when I was there, and even when I'm not there, keep in touch with them. So I hope everybody else is like that as well.
Yeah, it was an opportunity. I agree with that. I think we got to look for that too, by the way. A lot of people are feeling, as much as we can do this, we're as connected as we really can be. You can also feel really disconnected because you're not physically in someone's presence. The good thing
I know, I feel that too. I sometimes have a tough time with that as well.
Yeah, right. Because if you're tight with your brother, for example, or your dad, and you want to see them, even just like you said, or even having your mom come visit, even that right now is right on the radar. You're like, well, that's not even an option right now.
Yeah.
When it's not an option, it's funny. We don't seem to choose it as quickly. But when it's taken away, you have this gratitude for it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's the word that pops into my mind that keeps me optimistic. Is it really has helped me, for example, just to be grateful for how lucky we are, and we can do this, and you get to do your career, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So,
and I'm optimistic too, and I'm proud of the fact that with my profession, and especially being in Canada, the amount of lives that this will change for the better as us playing, and people will just be that much happier with us back. So I find joy in the fact that I'm able to do something that makes other people happy, and that will make people happy during this. That's
very true. Hey, well said. That's true. People will look forward to watching and following what you do, and all that kind of stuff. So no, that's a great point. Let me, we're going to have some fun now for a second. I know I told you I'm going to keep you first. I won't keep too much longer, but we're going to have fun. We got to have some fun. But before we go to the fun stuff, I want you to define something for me. Because it will be interesting as you go along in your life, just in general, your career and in life in general, what this will mean. So recording it now, maybe 10 years from now or 20 years from now, you can remember coming back or listening to this, which is define success for you right now. What does success mean? Because, and let me preface it, because people think, the majority of people would think if you're playing professional sports, and if you're financially okay, great. You got a good family, great. What does you got to worry about? All this kind of stuff. But just success is measured in all kinds of different ways. And I'm just curious right now in your life where you are. How would you define it for you right now?
I would say, and just the most simple answer, the first thing that came to my head when you said that before you even explained anything, is success for me is doing whatever you do that makes you happy. And that's as simple as I'm going to keep it. But, if you're doing something that doesn't make you happy, you're not successful, or you're not successful in that, or you're not enjoying it. You're not getting the most out of your life. I think being successful is you're getting the most out of every single day. And to get the most out of every single day, you have to enjoy what you're doing, or enjoy what you're in the midst of, or enjoy the life around you. So, there's a lot of things in the world right now that is screaming at you that might not be the case, but you have to look at the good in everything and try to make it work.
Absolutely. Hey, that's great advice at 23, 24 years old. Hey, some people live their whole lives and don't figure that out. So good for you. That's really cool. Hey, we're going to have some fun. Let's do some fun before you get going here. Listen, pop quiz. There's a pop quiz now. Okay. Just 3 real quick questions. History is the subject. 3. I need you to get 2 out of 3 on these, Matthew. Come on, buddy.
I'm nervous. Don't
be nervous.
I'm putting the phone away.
Put it away. No. You're going to love that. This is family history. History.
Okay.
Family. Okay. So I know you're going to get these. You got to, hey, what's significant about April 6th, 2008? April 6th, 2008, the last game of the year in 2008, April 6th. What happened?
Because I was thinking at the start, I was like, that wasn't my dad's final year, because that was 2010. He scored his 500th goal.
Boy. Okay.
Yeah, I knew that one.
You knew this. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. We had a great party that night. It was a lot of fun.
I bet. Okay. Same year, 2008, November 30th. What happened? November 30th, 2008.
November 30th. 2008, November 30th would be
This is family history. We're staying close to home.
Can I get a hint? I need a hint with this one.
Something else with your dad.
November 30th, 1,000 point, maybe.
There you go. Exactly.
Ooh, that was that one could have. My mind was not thinking that. I could have gone many different.
Well, that's also interesting you asking this because you might split something out that we never even heard before.
Yeah, well, because I remember that he was in the All-Star game in 08, but I was like, that's not what he's talking about or maybe it was 09, but I was like, it can't be November.
Right. Yeah, the following. So yeah, right. So they ended that year in 2008, and then the start of the next season is when he got his So, and you just mentioned, so what, April 9th, 2010, you're on the ice doing what?
Yeah, his final game. Yeah, that was good.
That was cool. I saw a video of that. And I've never seen it before, but I saw the three of you, the kids came on the ice apparently. And
yeah, I think that was the moment too. And it's crazy how like that was the moment I realized, but I think that was the moment I realized like my dad was a pretty big deal in St. Louis. I never realized it until it was his last game, but maybe I didn't.
He's gonna love hearing that. He's gonna love hearing that now.
Maybe I didn't even process it or whatever, but like everybody was on their feet, like sold out rink, like all holding signs. I'm like, wow.
Well, he must be a big deal. I love it. Well, hey, he's probably saying the same thing about you. He's probably saying, geez, I didn't know he's that big until he comes to Calgary. But that's not true. You know what's funny about the different eras, by the way, is that, TV coverage and so on and how big the game is now. So to that point is that back then, I mean, there's no internet going on. I mean, no social media and all that stuff. So the level of awareness of who people were, I know your dad coming out of Boston going to Winnipeg, he'd be like, well, what's Winnipeg?
Exactly.
Right.
And I honestly think it's going to take another step in Canada this year with the all-Canadian division. And that's all people are going to be doing is watching hockey. So I was even talking to Brady about it. Like you have a chance as players and as team to really do something special in this country. And obviously word gets down to the US and the hockey world in general, but especially in Canada, it'll be crazy.
Yeah, right. I agree. We're all kind of looking forward to that. Hey, that's just in case, because that's why I'm so glad you're decided to come on this show, because of course whether it's on whether regular sports shows or Sportsnet or TSN and these kinds of things, it's a very focused. But people that watch what I do tune in for all kinds of different guests, and that's why I love having someone like you're on here. But hey, listen, I want to show people real quick. I want to show you a couple of things because I saw you do a couple. This is hard to keep up with everybody all the time. So I was going through seeing some of the things that you've done, and I was like, holy cow, I just got to show people. Like, I'm going to bring it up here if I can. Grab some highlights here for you real quick. Just a couple. We'll just throw in a couple here because I think it's really, really cool. So let's just move here. Let me just get this over out of the way here. Here we go. So yeah, just a couple here. I was like, so anybody who doesn't know who we're talking about here. Now watch this. Look at that. Come on, man. Watch this. So you did it again. What is that? Watch this one. Okay, everybody. Look at that. Come on. And then, of course, when you're out, hurting these poor people. I don't know what you got against them. This guy, a good friend of yours, apparently. Man, you are just something else. You're a machine. Look at this. Come on, man. Look at that.
I appreciate it.
Hey, man, that was pretty cool stuff. I want to bring it back to that one right there. Hold on a second. This goal. This is pretty cool. This one. This is something. You played did you play lacrosse and things like that growing up?
I played. I'm telling you, when I say I played everything, I played everything. I think that a lot of my goals, even though this isn't like a natural like tip type of goal.
Yeah.
I score a lot of goals each year from tips, and I played a lot of baseball growing up, and I just think I did a lot of stuff that would help my hand-eye. So that's when I tell people not to just focus on one sport. You could do other stuff that'll help you with that one sport.
Yeah, exactly. Here, I'm just going to turn the volume down for a second. Let me just turn the volume down. I want you people to see that. Watch this again, because as a goalie, I don't know if you know that, Matthew, but I'm going to talk to you about that. I used to play goal here. Look at this. Look right there. Look. What are you doing there? Look at this. Now it's falling down. You got people coming ready to not. Anyway, look, everybody. That's pretty cool, buddy. That's pretty cool, I must say. So I want to show the highlights there. That's really, really important. So I also found something. Now, you won't believe this. I think you might believe this, but I met your dad somewhere, you know where, but I met your dad, and then just recently, not far after that, you know, he ends up being part of the organization that wins the Stanley Cup. And it's really interesting when you meet somebody, you almost feel like you know that you don't know them, but you think like, wow, and you're feeling happy for them. Like, you know, I don't know your dad very well, but just know him well enough. When I saw his face, so I found this, and I literally, when this was going on in real time, I recorded this off my TV when this was going on, and I thought, that popped in my head today to share it with you today. So here, I just want to show you something, and I just want to get your reaction to it. It's really, really cool because I must say it's a cool moment. It's a cool moment. Do you know this one? Look at this.
I did. Me and
look at that.
My brother were actually in. Me and my brother were actually in Toronto during this training, and we were giving him a little bit of grief because we felt like he got the cup in his hands before some of the players. How quick he grabbed it, but. He deserves. He obviously works in the organization now and played a lot of years there and is very, very involved with hockey in general and the city of St. Louis and building the game. And the things he's done the things that he's done in that city for hockey has been just you can't put a price on it. You can't put the amount of time and hours he's put in is unbelievable. So he enjoyed that moment, and he's definitely enjoying working for them right now.
Awesome. Yeah, that must be fun. Well, you're gonna have fun when you do it yourself as well. That's really, really cool. Okay, so before we go to the next video here, this is really important for you so I can set it up for you. Like these pads are mine now. There used to be Roman Tureks, just so you know. I don't know. Remember that old name? Do you know that old name?
That name, yeah.
Large. You know, they used to call them large. Those giant pads, like 39 inches tall. They're like illegal now. They're illegal now in the league, that kind of stuff. But I had Tree on here. So I had Brad on here. So I had a GM look at my footage. And I had Jelly on here. I had Jelena. And I told him, I said, you know, I'm still an old guy, but I want to be that guy that sits in the stands, you know, that third goalie rule, you know, if all the goalies get hurt. You ever,
the emergency.
Yeah, the emergency. I got the gear. I got the gear. I think I could do it. So I got to put this to rest. So I talked to a general manager. I talked to a coach. And now I'm talking to a star NHL player. I need to know, is it time to put him away, or is it can I compete? So let me just show you something here. Let me just have a bit of fun here with you. See what you think of this, because it's important to me. I'm at an age now where I'm going to get hurt, and I need to know if I need to put it away or if I just keep going. So let me just show you. Here, look, I got the gear. Well, boom, beer league, but look at the gear. Boom.
Yeah, that's good style right there. That's a positive to start.
Good way to start.
Yeah,
I'll let it finish. Not a lot of guys on the ice this day, but I want to show you the work ethic here. I just didn't give up on this puck. This was, and as you can see, we're just starting. So this was the first save of the day. Okay, so good little skater here.
Good positioning so far. Watch.
Oh
my God!
Right?
Yeah,
look
at that. Oh my gosh! Look at the compete is right.
What do you think of that? I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like the poke check because that's a very low percentage poke check with a guy coming down like that.
You're right.
But nothing in life goes perfect. Nothing in hockey was perfect. So the battle and compete. I mean, I would sign you up for the emergency goalie right now. I think we got two pretty good goalies. That we have ready to go for this year. But
the pads are here. The jerseys here.
And it's great. So you go to the games, you can watch every game at the rink and have a couple of pops and maybe call it a day. But then if you get in, you know.
If you get called with a couple of pops, it's not good. Hey, let me show the glove. I still got it's a 50-something-year-old glove hand. But here's another. Watch the pads. Look, stacks them.
Yeah.
That's so unorthodox. Watch this. Completely unorthodox, just floating around. But watch. I said I'll throw the pads up
and just boom. Right there.
Come on.
Honestly, very unorthodox, but if it still works, don't change it.
That's what I'm thinking, right? Results. We just talked about that. What's working for the team? What's working for the goalie?
What does that say? December 13th, 2019?
That's only last year, buddy.
Honestly, you're ready to go.
Come on. Here's a glove hand. I'll show you a little bit of glove hand. Just a little bit. Watch. It's not much, but I always make it look more than it is. But as you can see, that's super. Always put them in super slow.
Yeah, I like the fast glove hand there. I don't like how far out you came there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Why? So why is that? Why is it you
cut down the angle, but you came out there pretty fast? It means that when I see you come out like that, I hit you with a little pump fake, and then I got a wide open net.
Okay, fair enough. Look where I'm way out.
But if I catch you at that one time, even if I go around you, who knows if that stick or gloves coming around, I still probably won't score. That,
I never give up, so I might have swung. Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't matter.
That's a very good point. Very good point. Same thing here. Watch. I'll give him the glove and then I take it from him. See that?
Yeah.
Come on. Do you get goalies to do that to you? Do you get goalies doing that to you? They give you the glove, look, and then they go, "Oh, I'm going to steal it from you right there." Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have, but if they gave me the windmill like that, I might have to slash them right after that. But that was pretty good.
I know all the guys always say to me, "Peter, you're just always doing that big windmill thing. It's making it look way more important than it is because it's not that important." Just so you know. But here's one just to finish it off. Just want to know, make sure. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you still got it. You still got it.
Right. Watch this slow mo. I just want to make sure because if Tree is watching and some of the talent, look, watch. Boom.
And it's good because, you make it known that you made a great save too. So even if people can't see it on the other end, they know it was a good save. So half of it's the style part, right?
It's showmanship, right? It's showmanship. Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So again, I talked to a coach. He said, "Hey, you demonstrated." So Jelena said that you show me that you can compete in your 50s, which is great. And then Tree said, "I don't like a goalie after he makes a save. He's face to the net." So when I made a save, I was facing the net. He goes, "I don't know if that's the orthodox, like you said, it's very unorthodox." So I'll leave it to the player here. If your two goalies get hurt, I was up in the stands. Would you say to Tree, "Hey, Clarkie's
for sure, he's in. Call him in." And depending on, even if they're not hurt, depends if they're playing poorly or not. I might call you in no matter what. But I like to compete. I like to compete for sure.
Okay, I love that. Okay, my friend, listen. Here's the next part, and we're finished right after this. I promise you. We're finished after. Here's the fun part. When people know you, they think you know you. But you mentioned earlier you got a very small, tight circle, which is great. So when I chat with people, I always find it interesting that you get to know people, what they like and dislike, off the ice and do other things or out of their career and so on. So I created something called This or That. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to say two things, and you just pick this or that. That's it, one or the other.
That's easy. That's easy.
Yeah, it's really, really straightforward. It's this or that with Matthew Tkachuk, and we're going to find out a little bit more about you. So, of course, we're not advocating this to anybody, just so everyone knows we're not advocating the very first one here, but we're just talking. So if I had you to come to my house or something like that, whiskey or wine?
Wine right now.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man or Batman?
Batman.
Classic rock or country?
Country.
Country. Ooh, who in country, by the way? Who? Give me an example.
It changes a lot. I honestly am just a fan of good music. Okay. Right now, I really like some of the stuff Luke Combs has come out with. Oh. I've always liked Luke Bryan. I don't know. Honestly, I just like
old school country. What do you like, Johnny Cash, things like that? You know,
I like Johnny Cash. Yeah, I like Johnny Cash. Yeah. Yeah, I like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, cool. Okay, classic rocker. So you got country. Okay, got that. Movies. Here we go for movies. Rocky or Rudy?
Rocky. Yeah.
Rocky. That's pretty motivational too. They're both motivational. Hey, let's go to St. Louis right now. St. Louis style pizza or toasted ravioli?
Toasted ravs.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'd never had that. By the way, okay? You I totally get that. Snow ski. So like do you like skiing snow or water skiing? Which one?
Probably just because I haven't skied in a few years now. And I mean, I'm here, and when I'm here during the season, I'm not, jetting over to Banff to ski. I've done a lot more water skiing or like wake surfing or whatever that is. So I'd say probably water right now.
Yeah, water ski.
Just because I've done it more. I love skiing though. Like, so
it's a toss up.
My answer would be probably snow. Let me rephrase this. My answer would be snow, just because I haven't done it in a while and I've done more water. I have to lean to that right now.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, it's a day of hockey mentorship. You get to sit down with a day, 8-10 hours with somebody. Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux for the day?
Probably Wayne Gretzky, because I've actually gotten to know him a little bit from him being around St. Louis. He lives there or I don't know if he's there for a few months of the year. He's a beauty, and I could sit with him and just listen to him all day. So with him.
Okay, cool. Final shot in his year to coach. Final shot in a shootout. Sidney Crosby or Ovechkin?
Probably probably in a shootout, I've seen Sid score more in a shootout, but Ovi's had more goals in his career. But I think you just got to go with whoever has more goals. And I think Ovi's could go down as probably the best goal scorer, maybe beat Gretzky's record for most goals. So it's hard to not go with him.
Wow. So is that an opinion that's snuck out there? Do you think he is probably the best goal scorer ever? Not just statistic wise.
I think he's definitely the best goal scorer right now, but he's still got he still plays an elite level. So, and I don't know how many goals he has left to break Gretzky's record, but if he does it, like obviously, best ever.
Yeah. How about this? You had to choose between one of these: pure raw talent or relentless work ethic.
They're both great. I will say they're both great. I mean, probably somebody who works harder because they could still have talent, like a lot of raw talent. But if you have raw talent, you don't work hard, then you're probably screwed.
Wow, there you go. Okay, good. Here's a little more philosophical: hope or freedom?
Oh man, gosh, that's a hard one. I don't even know. Gosh, it's like they're both good. Freedom. I would say freedom, maybe. I don't know. I don't know why, but I don't know. Hope, obviously, hope too, though. I don't know. That's I'm gonna plead the whatever.
Plead the fifth on that. Plead the fifth on that.
Both A and B.
No, those are tough. They're big subject matters. Freedom, without there's arguments for both of them. One of the phrases, I think this, if you've never heard this one before, Matthew, this is a good one to put in your back pocket, is that talking about hope. There's an old saying that a person, a human can live 3 weeks without food, 3 days 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without it, 3 minutes without air, but not 3 seconds without hope.
Yeah, 3 seconds. That's what I meant. Yeah, I knew that.
That's a pretty cool sentence.
Something like that before. Not that exact one, but
yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, here's the last one. Finish this sentence for me. Finish this sentence. I love my life because.
I love my life because I wake up every day happy and I'm excited to see what the day has to bring me.
Fantastic. Doing what you love to do, surrounded by good people. How do you go wrong with all that?
Yeah.
Matthew Tkachuk, my fine friend, this has been a pleasure. I super appreciate hanging out with you. I really do. And I hope people got a lot of, insights about a little bit right there. We just learned a few things about you that didn't know. So we'll get the red wine ready to go. You can watch Batman, listen to some country. We'll get Rocky on the go, all that kind of stuff. So we learned.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Oh, we had a lot of fun. Hey, before you go, I'm going to throw out a little shout out to a good friend of ours, Ryan Leslie, Flames host, Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada. He's going to be following you all season long. So
he always sneaks his way in here, doesn't he?
I know. I just did that because I wanted to, because he was throwing me a whole bunch of stats, and I said it's okay. But which I appreciate. He was just throwing me some ideas and stuff like that. Hey, listen, that's the pro right there. I'm just one that plays one on TV. It's all good. He's the pro. It's all good. I want to give a shout out to him because he's going to be following you around and ask you way more questions than I just did throughout the year. So all that kind of stuff. So hey, listen, be good to yourself. Be kind out there, and say hi to your dad. And I hope your brother does well. Ryan also just texted me and talked about your brother got an assistant today.
Yep, he did. So we're happy. Proud of him right now. Definitely.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of cool things going on. So listen, I hope you wish great success for you. Stay healthy. That's the most important thing. And I super appreciate your time today and stuff. Stick around. I'll talk to you for 2 seconds when we're done, and then we'll get going. I know you got to get going. Everybody else, thank you for joining us here. We were streaming on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and all these kinds of fun things. And thank you to Matthew for doing that. And everyone else, be kind out there, everybody. Just be kind. That's all you need to do. Be kind. Cheers.